Hello, everyone, and welcome to VAS Live. My name is Henrik Farnstrand, and I am part of the strategy and business development team here at Volvo Autonomous Solutions. With me today, I have Ivica Maric, Global Technology Manager of Verification and Validation, to talk about one really exciting area of software development within autonomy. Welcome, Ivica.
Thank you, Henrik. I'm very happy to be here.
So let's kick this conversation off with looking at some simulation footage that we see behind us here. Now, this is what we use for testing of our autonomous vehicles and machines. Now, could you tell us a little bit more about how these simulations, how do they work?
Sure, Henrik. Simulation, as the word suggests, is a virtual representation of the real world. Now, if your real world artifact, whatever it is too complex or too expensive to build early in the development phase, then you can simulate parts of it and still be able to perform a lot of testing. Now, in our case, we will need to perform really a lot of testing in order to secure safety and reliability of our autonomous solutions. So, as I said, some parts of our autonomous solutions will be simulated and some parts will be real. Now, the simulated parts are a vehicle, which our virtual driver is driving. It's hardware sensors, which our virtual driver is using to perceive the world around. And it's a world itself in which this virtual driver is driving in. It's called a synthetic world. Now, it's exceptionally important to understand that these models need to be validated. They need to correspond to the real world as close as possible. They need to be validated towards the reality. So I can say that probably today, that is the biggest challenge with the simulations. But if you want the best representation of the closed-loop simulation environment which we are using today, it would be video games. So we are actually playing video games at work in order to secure reliability and safety of our solution.
Video games. That's really an interesting comparison. Now, could you elaborate on that?
Yes, sure. So if you play, for example, an Xbox game, you are inside a virtual world. And you will execute many tasks in a certain way in order to achieve the goal, whatever the goal of the game is. Similarly, in our simulation, our virtual driver will need to execute some tasks in a specific situation in a proper way. Now, these situations are called scenarios. So in an Xbox game, a scenario can be a specific situation at a specific place in a game where you will need to solve some specific task. And by solving that task, you will interact with the different figures in the game, which we call agents, in the different ways. Now, and in the same way, a scenario in our simulation can be a specific part of a specific mine in which our ego vehicle, which is our virtual driver, that one, needs to drive on a certain path in order to fulfill the task of transporting the goods. Now, during that drive, on that path, a lot can happen. You know, our virtual driver will interact with the different agents, moose, other vehicles, other people, rabbits, and so on, in a different ways. Now, the difference between Xbox and our simulation is, as you can see, instead of you, the player in the game is our virtual driver.
So, super. As you know, being part of the strategy team, we love to kind of zoom in and then zoom back out. And as we have started really zooming in on simulation, now let's zoom back out and take a look at the broader picture. So what can you tell us more about vehicle testing and the bigger process?
So we will run millions and millions of simulations. So our aim is to run 95% of all testing in a simulated environment, and then the rest of the 5% will be a physical testing. Now, the amount of physical testing, which is part of this 5%, is still a huge. So even if we are running so many simulations, the vehicle testing will still remain the only fully valid test method, because in a vehicle testing, everything is real. There are no models. Now, proving ground is, of course, a proving ground. It's not a customer site or mine. So that's why we are investing a lot and designing and building our own mine, a site at Asta Zero Proving Ground, close to the Gothenburg, where we will design a site which is as close as possible to a customer site, both in feature and in a design. And we call that beauty a generic site. So, and soon we will actually announce the opening of it. So stay tuned, Henrik.
And I will, and I can't wait to actually get there. Now, having listened to you talk about this area, it's clear to me it sounds really, really exciting. And I bet there is a lot of people out there who think the same. So what about, what skill set do you see? What would be required for roles on your team?
Well, if you want to apply, Henrik, I would be delighted to have you on my team.
I'll sign tomorrow.
But there are some prerequisites. Curiosity, desire to learn complex and new things, and genuine interest in autonomous driving. That is the starting point. Now, after that, it depends. If you are a kind of theoretical nerd like me, having a very strange interest in physics, mathematics, or electrical engineering, and so on, you would thrive in our scenario-based validation and methodology team, digging yourself daily in an infinite space of AD scenarios, running the closed-loop simulations. So now, on the other side, if you are a kind of a handy nerd, you know, like to put your hands on the old cars in your garage, you will be delighted in our transport mission testing team, climbing on the trucks and the machines, hacking software while sitting on the vehicle on a sunny, snowy, rainy day at generic site, in a mine, or in some Norwegian fjord.
Like a Norwegian fjord.
Exactly this one, yes.
So to sum things up, what we have heard today is really how we at Volvo Autonomous Solutions really go from code or coding to real world solutions. And that's about all we have for you today. Thank you so much, Ivica, for joining, and thanks to everyone who's been watching. If you joined late or if you have missed something, you can rewatch this recorded conversation on our LinkedIn channel shortly. So with that, see you next time. Thank you so much and goodbye.